For those of you who were with us last Epiphany, you might remember our Star Words spiritual practice. I know John Fife does. He brings a Star Word every week. Does anybody remember that who was here? Yes, couple hands. Well, each person received a word, a Star Word, not a Star Wars, Star Word. They didn't choose it, they received it as a guide for the year ahead. It's similar to the way the Magi followed their star, stepping out in faith and hope, not knowing where exactly the road would lead them, but trusting that it was calling them to something significant. Maybe something life-changing. My word for 2024 was walk. And over the past week, I've been thinking a lot about what this word has taught me this past year. Walking isn't always easy for me. Just ask anyone, including my parents who are here today, who has spent any amount of time with me. Some of you may recall that when I first visited CCSM as one of the final senior minister candidates, that I had a broken leg. I didn't even see the second floor or the CE building. But thankfully, Jim Berthleson had a little scooter that I could coast around on, and I felt right at home. My friends and family often joke that if there's a crack, a bump, a divot, or just the flat ground in front of me, I will find it and trip and fall. Walking a straight, smooth path without unexpected tumbles has never been part of my journey. This year, I found myself walking our beautiful labyrinth out here in the Memorial Garden as a centering practice. Walking downtown to get to know our city better. Walking in rallies to stand with our immigrant neighbors, walking in conversation with people, walking in conversation with the divine, listening, paying attention. In all of these moments to where God might be leading. That word walk on this little star here that I've had on my desk under my computer screen for the past year has been a daily, almost daily, reminder of how to approach life and ministry. You know, there's so much excitement when starting something new. We want to do all the things at once. Can anyone relate to that? Yes, good. I'm in good company. You know, we've been waiting in Advent, in the interim period after Penny's retirement, after I was called as your senior minister before I started a few months later. Waiting as we've gotten to know one another, because waiting is part of transitions. And it's also part of beginnings. But, as you know, waiting can be frustrating. Amen? Waiting at the DMV, Alvaro. Waiting in the hospital. Waiting for an interview. Waiting for those test results. Waiting in traffic, waiting for your spouse or your child to be ready to head out the door. waiting as a kid on Christmas morning for permission to get out of bed and open those presents. Waiting for the paperwork to arrive. Waiting isn't easy. It isn't easy, and yet it is part of the journey, just as it was for Mary and Joseph and the Magi. This year, I've been reminded again and again to trust the slow work of God. When I get impatient, when I want everything to happen right now, when my to-do list seems endless, I hear that gentle reminder, walk. Walk with God. Move at God's pace. The thing is, we are only one person. There's only so much time in a day, and life, as we know all too well, has a way of bringing unexpected twists and turns that we can't plan for. So we learn to be adaptable, but also steady. Just keep walking, one foot in front of the other, knowing that we don't journey alone. Look around. We do not journey alone. You know, maybe that's part of the lesson the Magi have for us. That transformative journeys rarely follow our expected timeline and route. I wonder what that journey was like for the Magi. We often compress their story into a neat little package. Follow star, check. Find baby, give gifts, the end. But their journey wasn't a short one, and I'm certain the route and the result weren't what they expected. Scholars tell us that their journey took months, maybe even years. How many times do you suppose that they wondered if they were on the right path? How many doubts did they face before they finally arrived at that family home in Bethlehem? Like the Magi, we too find ourselves navigating by starlight, seeking signs of God's presence in unexpected places. They didn't find Jesus in Herod's palace where human logic said a king should be. Instead, the star led them to a humble home in Bethlehem, where they encountered God in the ordinary, where we encounter God. And just when they thought that their journey was complete, they had to go home by another way. A dream warned them of danger, and suddenly their carefully planned route dissolves. And they must trust their holy imagination, their sacred intuition, listening to how God is still speaking to find a new path forward. Throughout this Advent season, we've been exploring words we need to hear again and again as we begin new chapters. And as I look to the Magi's journey, I see each of these truths lived out in their story. You are a blessing. Even when they were far from home, following a star to an unknown destination, they carried gifts within them. Like them, We are blessed and carrying a blessing, even when we feel lost or uncertain in our path. We can't go alone. Notice that it's not just one wise one who makes this journey. We don't know how many, but we do know a group traveled together, sharing the challenges, the questions, and eventually the joy. When they faced the decision to defy Herod, they made it together. Even seeking wisdom requires community. Do the good that is yours to do. When they realized returning to Herod would put Jesus in danger, they chose to go home another way. They did what they could do, where they were at, with what they had. A good reminder for us all. Hope is worth the risk. This might be the heart of their whole journey. They follow a star without knowing where it will lead. They chose an unknown path rather than a familiar route home. And every step of their journey required hoping that something special awaited them. And don't forget to laugh. If you've been on any type of road trip, you know that something will probably go wrong or unexpected. And we have to remember to laugh. And today, we conclude this series. We are reminded that the road isn't straight. God doesn't call us to walk a perfectly straight path. God calls us to be faithful in the twists and the turns, to keep our eyes on the light of love that guides us, even when that light leads us in unexpected directions. This March will mark 5 years since the COVID-19 pandemic began, right? It's hard to believe. And it launched all of us and churches everywhere onto unexpected paths. And like the Magi, we've discovered that we can't simply go home the way that we came. Our understanding of what home is and of what church needs to be in 2025 and beyond is different. And it's the same. Different in how we may gather, connect, grow, and serve, but it's the same in what guides us. The star of God's love. That hasn't changed. Before I started this job, my boss gave me a bit of advice that a mentor had given him some 30 years earlier. Love God, love people. That's it. With love as our guiding star, God will always draw us near and show us a way. This morning, I think about all of the people who are walking journeys of mystery and hope right now. Families fleeing violence and poverty, crossing deserts and seas with nothing but faith that something better awaits. I think of neighbors in their cars, moving from parking lot to parking lot in search of safety and rest. I think of refugees, especially those in Gaza, displaced by war and conflict, carrying their whole lives in a single bag. These journeys aren't straight paths either. God doesn't guarantee a smooth road, but God does promise that we don't walk through life's valleys alone. Even in our most difficult and darkest moments, even when the star seems dim, God is walking with us. Like Herod, there will always be forces that try to control our path, demanding that we walk a straight line of their choosing. But God's way is different. God speaks to us through stars and dreams, through community and communion, through that holy nudge that says, maybe there's another way. That's why today, as we conclude our Words from the Beginning worship series with this Epiphany celebration, we are about to begin again by receiving new star words, not wars, star words. We are people of peace, remember this, for the year ahead. Now, these words, which are located right down here in front, they are not a New Year's resolution or a goal that you have to achieve. They are an invitation to pay attention, to look for God's presence and guidance in new ways and in unexpected places, to trust that even when the road winds and turns, and even when we take a tumble or two, that we are exactly where we need to be. The Magi followed a star, which ultimately led them to Jesus. And we will also use all the resources that we have, like they did, including these star words, to move closer to Jesus, closer to his teachings as a way of life and as a way of love. May it be so. Amen.